Hey everyone, it's Megan, and I'm so thrilled that you'll be joining me for this year-long project for the 50th anniversary of the Scarborough Needlearts Guild. The sampler has been designed to give you a little bit of tasting of specialty stitches, as well as a little bit of counted and pulled and drawn thread. It sounds very complicated, but I promise you we're going to take it step by step and break it out very, very easily and slowly, and I really am thrilled that you're going to be on this journey with me. So let's just start and dive right in. This sampler is 200 stitches by 120 stitches wide. No, sorry. Let's try that again. The sampler is 200 stitches wide by 120 stitches tall. It is designed for a 25 or 28 count even weave. We're going to be working with an even weave fabric versus Aida, because even weave has the individual threads that we can count for specialty stitches, whereas in Aida, specialty stitches are a little harder or not possible to count on the block or grid style of that weave. So let's dive in. You're going to need and have chosen your colorway. For the guild and to celebrate the 50th anniversary, we have gone with a very bright, vivid gold colorway. You're going to need an 8 and a 12 with a matching floss in the gold. I've gone with 676, and then I've pulled in some nice matching blues in the 930, 931, and 932 range. A little bit of a floral accent with a variegated variations in the greens. And then as a strong Canadian representation, I've pulled out a rich red for flowers as well as maple leaves. You're also going to need a number 4 weight in metallic. I've pulled out a blue, but please feel free to choose any color of metallics, golds, greens, reds, anything that really works with the thread and colorway you're going with. And then I've chosen beads to match my metallic. If the gold is a little too bright for you, please feel free to pull in or do a monochromatic or a colorway that is more muted in your style. What is really important is that you have a number 8 and number 12 weight, as well as the matching floss. And then I've chosen 3 flosses to go with that to give me a tonal range in a monochromatic scheme. So I'm going to go a little darker as well as a little lighter. It's really a personal preference if you've chosen your DMC to match your Perle Cottons, if that's going to be your darkest or your lightest color or somewhere in that mid-tone range. Very personal, and it can be anything. The sampler is really about trying different things and testing your boundaries in stitching, but being very comfortable and very easy flow. Again, you're going to need a number 4 weight metallic thread in a matching tone and beads to match. And that's it. Very simple. Let's get started. If you want add a little sneaky extra, you could pull in 4 number 12 sulky petites. I've chosen a colorway to go with my monochromatic, which is my personal and design piece, but for my demos I will just be using the number 12 Perle Cotton. Again, it's a little sneaky extra, and it's a very personal preference. You don't need it, but it is nice to have. So let's dive into your fabric once you've chosen your color scheme. So for demo purposes, I have gone with a 25 count flow bar. It's an even weave. I like the fleck in it. It kind of reminds me of working on a linen, but with my threads not having the thick and thin of a linen. It still has that like grainy texture. This piece can be designed and is really great on a linen as well. It just comes down to personal preference if you wanted a lugana or linen. I've done both, and I'm in love with both. So for the 25 count, you're going to need a piece that measures in width 21 inches by 16 inches in height. Or for your 28 count piece, you're going to need a piece that measures 20 in width and 15 in height. There is a little bit of play added into your border of 3 inches all the way around. I've done this because we do have a piece of stump work that is going to be touching the edge of your piece, and it just allows for a little bit of a easier finishing. But again, it's very personal preference. I do like having a little bit of extra play in my fabric size. So let's go ahead and start basting. If you have a basting technique that you like and are familiar and comfortable with, I would go with that. Use your personal preference and your personal adjustment when it comes to the stitches. If you have something and you're more familiar with a different technique than I'm teaching, please go ahead with what you're familiar with. It's not that I'm teaching a right or wrong way. I find stitches are very, very personal. It's like counting. It's very hard when it comes to counting to teach someone how you count the fabric out. I find a lot of cross stitchers tend to count stitches rather than threads. Whereas if someone is more comfortable working with specialty stitches, they are actually going to be counting the threads. I will try to give you both, but if I mix up, please forgive me, and I'll try to get out the right count as soon as possible. I think in the meeting I told you we were counting threads, and I meant stitches. So let's start with basting. My preferred method is doing 4 over 4 under. That's how I learned to baste. It's how I count. It's not necessarily the proper technique. But it works for me, and it works in my counting method. So to find a center, I'm just going to fold my fabric in half, and then in half again. And where that meets, I'm going to put my needle in. I am looking for an area. Where did my pin go? It's right here. I'm looking for an area where my warp thread is going under my weft thread. I find when I'm doing a cross stitch, it lays nicer that way when you're doing your half across. It's a very personal preference, and it's just how I like to start. If you like to start in a different way or a different method, please go with that. If you want to just start right where your pin is, that is fine too. And oops, I just hit the camera. I hope I didn't shake it too much on you. So you're going to baste out your center line in both directions. Take a breath, and then you're going to count out for your width and for your height. I've counted out 10 stitches for 100 and then put my first pin in, and then I've counted out 100 stitches or 200 threads. And you're going to want to do that on the left and the right side of your fabric for your width. And then for your height, you're going to want to count out 60 stitches or 120 threads on either side of center to get the height of your piece. Again, if there's a different preferred method that you like, go with that. This way works for me, and I'm just going to note that I like to have it where, like, if I'm coming over and down here, when I put my stitch in here, that's how I want to continue on. So I'm just going to quickly show you. So where my thread is counting here, I'm going to count 2. I know it's a little tricky to see. 2, 4 stitches back, come up right where my 100th stitch is, and then I'm going to count 2, 4 2 4. I count threads during this process. A lot of my times I will count stitches, but I find when basting I do count out my 4 threads. And I just want to make sure that I'm staying in that groove and I'm not jumping on either side of that thread. And then I'll just continue that for my 4 sides. So for Monday, what we'll need is your piece, your center basted, along as well as your width and your height basted. And then you're going to need your pearl cotton in an 8 and a 12 weight. And that's it. So don't panic. Don't worry about rushing to get everything. If you don't need it all to start. You just need your fabric and your starting threads. If you want to join in and do this project on a doodle cloth, please, I really encourage you to try out new stitches and these techniques that we'll be exploring throughout the year. The pattern will be provided to you in small increments so that you're not going to feel like you pressure to rush ahead and get as much done as you can. We're going to be working month to month very slowly. So for our first month, I have my cat who's come to visit and she's on top of my stitching. I'm good. So for the first month, there we go. What we're going to be focusing on is our outlining of the bluffs. So for September, that is all that we're going to focus on. If you can get one bluff fully outlined for September and that's all you get done before our next meeting in October, that is fine. You can move at a slow pace or whatever pace works best for you. So in September, all we're going to be working on is doing our outline of the bluffs, and then in October we're going to be moving on and doing our filling, and it could be in black work or pulled thread, and we're going to do slow studies in the stitches. So there's no rush to this piece. It is very, very much a teaching piece. I'm so thrilled that you'll be joining me on this exploration in stitches, as well as celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Scarborough Needlearts Guild. We'll see you Monday.